old Nintendo gamer.
And son.
I'm going to go first with the big game of the year, the 5 million seller, Paper Mario, the Origami King.
I've been looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one.
I don't know if I solidified them, but I'll take you through what I think at the moment. I put 30 hours into the game, and from the moment you load it up, and I suppose the same was true of Colour Splash as well, it is so sumptuous, you know. The level of detail in the environments, the way you can see that the way they put these environments together, and as you work through the story as well, you can go into the museum and unlock like the concept art. You can see that everything is like built in real time, and then turned into bits and put together again in game itself. It's just meticulously designed, you know, doors that open and then you see the corrugated paper as from either side of the door. The way that, for example, Olivia is your character, and I'll go more into the story, but when she folds to make something else, a power, everything is folding as it would in real life. It's just the attention to detail that goes into the water effects in it. Is one of the best water effects I've seen in a game. Really, really sumptuous looking game. So I'll move on to the story. Like I said, I put 30 hours into this now. There are, as far as I can see, well, what basically happens is Ollie, you've probably seen it from trailers, Ollie is the Origami King, the evil one. He's got a purple glint in his eye, signifying his evilness. In my playthrough, I've given him quite an English accent. Yes, that's right. And he's folding everything in the Mushroom Kingdom to turn them into his soldiers. So he'll grab lots of Goombas, fold them up into origami, and now they're origami, kind of zombie-like, the way they speak as well. So he's using this army then to capture and turn the whole world to origami. So in doing so, Mario and Luigi stick their head in, and he has to remove the castle away by wrapping it in 5 streamers, from what I can see, and moving it to a faraway mountain. So to get access to this castle, Luigi has got to find the key, and Luigi goes off, and you meet up with Luigi along the way as well, who is, I mean, the writing throughout this is hilarious, and Luigi is a certain highlight, that's for sure. And as you're going through, and these 5 streamers, you get to one area, you're basically kind of going through the same thing in the same area, but each area is kind of a diverse location. The game itself is very big, if you can imagine. I've done 3 of the 5 streamers, and I'm 30 hours in. I've nearly finished the 4th one. I've got bits and pieces to do. And then I don't know what's going to happen after the 5th one. Obviously, I haven't seen anything about it, but I'm about 2/3 of the way through doing the 4th one. And as you're going through these diverse environments, it seems linear. So it is pushing the story along this path, and it's forcing you down certain ways. And if you wanted to go back to certain areas, yes, you could, and get lost. Yes, you could. But the game is forcing you along a certain path. There are times when you play in it that you feel lost. Those don't happen very often. And it's normally, for example, finding a certain item. You need this to progress the story because, for example, a key or a manhole cover key is the first one. I kind of like, where am I going to find this? And you end up traversing the entire area looking for something that might have been made easier to put the location, get someone you speak to tell you where to go. That is far and few between. That doesn't happen very often. And the adventuring then is the things you can do in the environment. For example, the kind of overworld is a very large landscape, and there's all these holes. You know, the environment is all made of cardboard and confetti. So these holes have appeared, which you find out later is done by the bad guys. You can fill that with confetti by pressing your X button. Oh, not X button. X button. No, the R button, sorry. R button. And you throw confetti in the air. It falls down into the hole, fills the hole in, and it gives you maybe a power-up, maybe some coins most of the time. And as you do that, that's one kind of 100% collectathon thing that you have to do in this area. The other thing is collect toads. The toads, where people complain that, yes, the toads all look the same, they're generic, they just got different colours, red, yellow, green, blue, purple. What they come out with for the situational, what they've been folded up into is hilarious. And yes, it's very pun-based. I can't think of examples. Well, one might be, for example, is a dog barking at you. You hit it with your hammer. Invariably, it means to hit something with a hammer and it'll unfold. You flatten it. So you unflatten into a toad, and then he says like, "Oh, I was barking up the wrong tree," or something little simple thing like that, but amplified over hundreds and hundreds of toads that you're finding. Every one of them's got something different, witty and quirky to say. It's quite a delight in the writing of the game, just in those little instances, but in the story itself as well. As Olivia is saying things, she's got a terrible memory, keeps on forgetting people's names. The Babom you meet near the beginning of the game, she keeps on calling Bobby, and he keeps on correcting her, and it's absolutely visually delightful, and the story is delightful as well. There are items you can get to help you collect things, because there's a lot of stuff to collect. First of all, you get a bell, so it rings when there's a toad near, for example, or rings when there's a hidden block. You can get different bells. You can equip different things to help you. Later on, you get a toad radar, which can flash on your head and uses batteries, so it can make you find a toad quicker. So if you've kind of done an area and you haven't found that last toad, you could just stick that on your head and fly through and just find the last bits and pieces rather quickly. So it does help you in that respect. If you do want to go for 100%, there's something there to help you, especially later, and you can kind of mop up things, which I haven't done yet. I've pretty much found it kind of points you in the right direction. There's a hole in the wall, right? I hit the hammer next to the hole in the wall. This rolled up parchment pops out, and then I can pull it, and it's a toad. There's kind of environmental details all over the place where a toad could be, which give you enough of a hint to pretty much collect nearly 100% of the toads in that environment anyway, if you're looking to do that, and that's why I've spent 30 hours so far. So that's the kind of story thing, and as you're going through the story, you'll come across battles. This is where the game is let down a little bit, and I mean a little bit. It's not a terrible battle system. When I saw the videos, first of all, I saw that rotation, the rotating tiles. There's 4 circles which can be rotated individually. I thought that was going to be just for special enemies, but no, it's for every single fight, bar few. There are a few exceptions, but it's for a vast majority, like 95% of the fights you'll be doing in these 4 circles. Mario's stuck in the middle, enemies around, and what it is basically a puzzle. You have a set number of moves. It tells you 2, 3, 4, depending on how difficult the puzzle is, and you can either rotate a single circle around, or you can turn it into a line and drop them back a couple of spaces to line them up. So you can drop them back, rotate, drop them back, and you've basically got to line up these enemies. There's all manner of origami enemies, from Goombas all the way through to, I've seen Hammer Brothers and everything like that, and bosses. So you line them all up in a line or in 2x2 squares. Line them up in a line, you can use something like a boot, or line them up in 2x2 squares, you can use a hammer. Now, as you're going through the game as well, you can find different types of hammer, and apart from your normal standard boots and hammer, which are quite weak to begin with, you can get flashy hammers and all the kind of Paper Mario staples of shiny, flashy, and the ultimate rainbow kind of ones. But they are breakable. It's not a game-breaking thing. It's not as infuriating as people found the breakable weapons in Legend of Zelda to be. It's something which you take into consideration as you're using an item. It gets an X next to it when it's nearly going to break, and you might get 2 or 3 uses out of it. But unfortunately, it doesn't tell you exactly how many uses you've got until it breaks. And sometimes it feels quite random number generator. Sometimes you get the 1 use and it breaks. Sometimes you get the 3 uses out of it and then it breaks. But you have a vast bag that you can fill with other items, and you can drop in, as long as you're not in the middle of a battle, you can then add extra flashy boots to your inventory when you get into battle for the next time. I suppose the most annoying thing about the battle system is that yes, you can rack up a lot of coins from it. It's just it takes too long. Especially if you just want to fly through an area and you're being besieged by enemies who you can just one-shot, regardless of whether you line them up. Because if you line them up perfectly, you get extra damage attack. But when you become slightly more powerful and you go back to another area, what it does allow you to do is to jump or stomp or hammer hit an enemy in the open world and then gain coins immediately rather than going into a battle. So there are ways around of not battling enemies if you don't want to. But when you're battling through a tougher area in the first instance, you're going to have to fight everything you bump into. There are the bosses then, they fight in exactly the same way, except the quirks with the bosses is that each and every individual boss will add something different to this rotation. Now, each area in the adventure, in this story kind of mode, you need to kind of beat two main bosses. One is a Velemental, which is an elemental power, and then you'll need that elemental power to defeat the final boss, which is one of the Origami stationary army. And so an Velemental, for example, like the fire Velemental is this Phoenix. And his kind of quirk is as you hit the Phoenix successfully, he will drop fire feathers which litter the play area. But if you hit the fire feather as you're walking around, because the kind of battle mechanic isn't lining up the enemies anymore, it's lining these arrows up so you can make it to the center to hit the enemy. And hit them from the right angle as well. So you've got to line them up. For example, as a turtle enemy, you want to hit his tail. Make sure you don't come around to his head for the last move. So you're moving these blocks around, you're moving around, and you've got to kind of dodge these feathers as you're trying to get to the tile you want to turn something on or hit the enemy at. So it becomes quite a challenge. And I think the first time I did a Velemental, it took me about 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes, just to get to grips with what the game wanted me to do. It's very wordy in the beginning of telling you what you need to do, but it's not good at describing the finer intricacies of what the enemy is going to throw at you, and you've got to learn that, unfortunately, through trial and error. And that's another thing which plagues the kind of battle mechanics, is you come up to some enemies that you fought many, many times, and you've got the power up, I can't quite remember how tough this enemy is. Do I need my normal boots? Is that adequate enough to beat them? Or do I need the shiny boots, which are a bit tougher, or the flashy boots are a bit, and it doesn't tell you that the enemies don't have any health. So you could quite easily use the wrong weapon on them. And then, you have to go through the whole system. They attack you, and then you've got to line them up again, and you've got to attack them again. So you end up using the most powerful attack all the time, which is unnecessary all the time, unfortunately. And then once you beat a Velemental, got his power, you end up going to the stationary bosses, and they are funny as hell. One of them is for example, a hole punch. And his kind of thing is to punch holes in these circles and spread them out. And if you fall down the hole, you take damage and you can't attack him. So each boss kind of enemy has its individual quirk. It's very different from what you saw before. And to help you along, you also have items you can use by, instead of using your boots and hammers, you can press the R button before you attack, and you can use things like fire flowers and raccoon tails, all the kind of Paper Mario staples as well. And there's toads. The more toads you rescue, the more they can help you by holding the Y button down. You can they cheer you on, or they can even help you decipher the puzzle if you're a bit stuck. The more coins you spend, the more they do. They'll even hit enemies for you. And you can get buffs like health plus and bits and pieces which make you tougher. So it's not a perfect game, but everything in the kind of overworld and the writing of the story and the kind of delightful visuals, the delightful writing, how funny it is. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody who wants to play it, but there's these touching moments as well, which make you, that could make you cry if you were in the right mood. There's elements of that all thrown into this story, and I couldn't recommend it more than enough because it's absolutely delightful, even through the slightly infuriating battle mechanics. Mm-hmm. Not game breaking though. It's great.
Good.
Really, really good game. I think after playing this and Luigi's Mansion 3 and looking at both of them, I think this stands out just a little bit above Luigi's Mansion 3. But time will tell how things happen. When I finish it, I'll come back and speak more about it, maybe. Have I sold it to you, Greg?
Well, the bit that was worrying me most about it is the battle system. So I don't know if you have really sold it. Like, I already knew it was going to like have good humour in it. Like, the graphics and all are obviously lovely. I don't want to play through like a game. You say you've already put 30 hours into it, like, so it's probably going to take you at least 40 probably.
Yeah,
and you
I
don't
should
really
imagine so.
Don't really want to put that much time into a game where I'm like not enjoying the battle system throughout and like probably wanting to avoid fights and stuff for a lot of it.
It is strange. I'm not trying to avoid fights because I want to gain coins, because coins are very useful for other things as well, buying items or whatever to make yourself stronger. But if you're not in the right frame of mind, when you get into yet another battle after battle, it does get repetitious, yeah. Feels like a chore. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.